episode of Funny You Would Ask, the show where I answer your frequently asked questions about houseplants. I'm your host, Betsy Begonia. This is my co-host, Frank the Fox. Take it away, Frank. Oh, right, I forgot you could only talk in my imagination. I get a lot of questions in my YouTube comments or in my Instagram DMs, and they're generally the same questions about the same plants. I'm having a hard time keeping up with them at a reasonable rate, so I created this series so that I could answer 3 of your questions at one time in one fell swoop because
You're lazy!
No, I keep quite busy, actually. I'm pretty busy.
You're asocial!
Yeah, you could say that. You could say that.
You're kind of a B-word!
That's a fair shot. That's a fair shot. Okay. No. It's because I'm not really a specialist in plants. I am not a botanist. I'm not a horticulturist. I'm not the customer service of houseplants. And first and foremost, I am a content creator who happens to have houseplants as a hobby, you know? So I merged those 2 things together, and I decided to create this series and take this opportunity to help you and have a little fun while I do it, you know what I mean? That's where I shine, that's my jazz. Question number 1, which I've been hearing quite frequently in my YouTube comments lately is, what's going on with your Staghorn Ferns back there? Then, something seems amiss. You're not wrong. The one in the middle, he's dead. He's dead. The ones on the edges, I'm trying my best to revive. The one in the center has never done well since the first day that I mounted it. And the ones on the edges, they were doing really well in my old apartment where they were near an east-facing window and the sun would come in the morning and then we'd get some direct morning sun. They loved it. They were really happy that way. But in my new apartment, they don't get any direct sun at all. And in the winter time, it was particularly dark. I had really low light due to the weather in northern France. One other thing that really did them some harm was when I moved last April, the movers, I think they didn't realize that they're like real plants. So the movers just kind of chucked them into the truck haphazardly, and they just got kind of mushed and mashed by other things. I would like to remount the 2 on the edges because I think that they could use it, just a new potting mix underneath the sphagnum. And the one in the center I need to replace. But my local greenhouse, even though I can find some true gems there sometimes, their Staghorn Ferns are 1, freaking gigantic, and 2, expensive. So I just haven't found a Staghorn Fern to replace it yet, but I will. And I will do all 3 in one go. That's just kind of how like this. It's just kind of how I like to do things. I like to do it one foul swoop, Bum, bum, bum. I'm gonna take care of it, okay? Let's all move on. Question number 2, why is my cane begonia dropping leaves, or especially, why is my begonia dropping baby leaves? A lot of people ask me this. My begonia is growing, seems fine, everything seems fine, puts out a little baby leaf, looks really healthy, and then it just falls. And I don't know why. So there are a multitude of reasons why this could happen. One reason could be that it's experiencing shock. Like if it's a plant that you just brought home from the greenhouse, keep in mind that the greenhouse provides optimal conditions for plants, right? It's very humid, the light is very bright and indirect, it's getting watered on a regular basis, it's with all of its buddies, all of its friends, it's in optimal conditions, and then you bring it home and it's not so optimal anymore. Your home is not an optimal place unless you're living in a greenhouse, which if you are, good for you. I wish I could. Your home is lower in humidity, or you're not watering it at the same rate. It's watering schedule changes, the light has changed. So it just experiences a bit of shock and it needs some time to recuperate, adapt basically. And you just have to give it a little bit of time and wait. Reason number 2 is maybe you're touching your plant too much. I know that there are some leaf strokers out there. I know y'all like to touch your plants. I personally am not a plant toucher because I've learned the hard way that when I touch my plants, I ruin them. I screw them up. My Hoyas, for example, I have made the mistake of touching the baby leaves when they're in the really early stages of development. And then as they get bigger, I see that, I've accidentally nicked the leaf in some way. And then when it grows into a mature leaf, it's like all, weird and like, it looks like it has bonitis or something. I mean, if you are a plant, a leaf stroker, and you're not having any issues with that, go ahead, by all means, keep stroking those leaves. Make out with your plant for all I care. What you do in your home is your personal business. But if it's like a work plant, I wouldn't make out with a plant on your desk, it's gonna weird people out. Don't be creepy, don't be spooky, A reason number 3 could be pests. It may have pests. Maybe you haven't spotted them yet, but I would take a looky-loo. Get yourself a magnifying glass or something like that. Take a real close look and see if there's mealybugs or thrips. Or another reason could be too low light, too low humidity, overwatering, underwatering, just a multitude of things about the conditions of the plant. You know, if we're changing seasons, for example, if we're going from fall into winter, then the sun is going to be streaming into your home and through the windows at a different direction. So perhaps it has stopped getting the amount of light that it was getting previously. Do you need to move it to a place where it's getting more light? Are you watering it on such an irregular schedule that it's shocking the plant? You'll water your plant, right? And then you'll let maybe 2 weeks go by and you realize, oh my gosh, I've let it go on too dry. I need to water the plants. You water it, and then you're watering it on a regular schedule again. You know, like every 3 or 4 days, as soon as the potting mix begins to dry out, you give it a water, and then you accidentally let a couple of weeks go by again, then you water it. The plant could experience a bit of shock from that. Just the irregularity of the watering schedule could cause something like that to happen. You know, it's a very sensitive plant. It needs, it needs very specific conditions, high humidity, very bright indirect light. Just consider all of those things. One of those could be the reason why your plant is dropping leaves or dropping baby leaves. If the leaves are turning yellow before they drop, it's a very good sign that you're overwatering. There is somebody walking by in the hallway, and I know that I sound like a crazy person in my apartment. Like, I want to open the door and be like, no worries, I have a YouTube channel, it's all good. I'm not just in here talking to myself. I mean, I am talking to myself in English. Eventually other people will, technically I'm talking to other people. My neighbors think I'm crazy. Frequently asked question number 3, my cane begonia is getting leggy. It's just got a long stalk, just 2 little leaves at the top, just reaching for the light. What do I do? Should I prune it? Should I propagate it? Should I start over? You know, it's completely up to you. You do you. You gotta, if you don't like the aesthetic of a leggy looking begonia with little leaves at the top, do it. Just chop it, put a node in water, it will root, and you can start over. Mine is looking quite leggy, so I'm gonna go get it. This is my Begonia maculata whitey eye. It's not looking so good, you know. Things took a little downturn in the winter, low light conditions, lots of rain, lots of gray skies, so it became a bit leggy. Then I had an issue with begonia powdery mildew in my apartment, which was an absolute nightmare. And if you are interested in learning about begonia powdery mildew, you can check out my video on that. I talk about what it is and how to treat it. I don't really mind personally. I mean, it's fine. It's fine with me. I don't care. I want to see where it's going. You know, oftentimes I let my plants do their own thing. But if you want, and you have a situation like this, or a situation a little bit worse than this I've seen, then you can prune it, put a couple nodes in some water, it's going to develop roots, and then you can repot it, start over, and then the leaves will be lower down. And in fact, you can take many cuttings, put a bunch of them in the same pot, and then you'll have what appears to be a bushier and more full plant, you know, a little trick of the eye. I mean, it's just completely up to you. If you don't like the way this looks, or you don't like the way your begonia looks, do it, you know. It's really just a matter of opinion and choice. I can't tell you whether or not you should or shouldn't. I can tell you it's just gonna keep growing that way. So if it's not for you, if you don't like the aesthetics of that, give it a little choppy chop. Right, Frank? Right. Well, that's it for today's episode of Funny You Would Ask. I would like to thank my co-host Frank for being here with me. I hope that you had a good time, or that you learned something. If you have any questions that have gone unanswered, or if you have any questions about the things that I said in this episode, feel free to leave it down in the comments below, and I will add your question to a future episode of Funny You Would Ask. If you enjoyed this episode, you want to see other plant-related content, check out my channel, hit subscribe, give it a go. If you decide that you hate me in the end, you can unsubscribe. I won't hold it against you. If you would like to support my channel, support me, you can do that. It's completely up to you. There's no obligation. The link is down below. You can take a little looky-loo, see what's going on over there. You know, every little bit counts for me because I'm always trying to improve my content in any way that I can, and I'm trying to make a living. You know what I mean? By the way, a very kind woman named Melissa sent me a donation on Venmo with a really sweet message behind it. The only problem is that we don't have Venmo in France. And so I couldn't accept it, and I also couldn't sign into Venmo to tell you why. And I looked for your email address, and I looked for your Instagram account because I just wanted to explain what was going on and why. So I really appreciate the thought. I appreciate the gesture. I just wanted to tell you what's going on. If you're out there, Melissa, I hope I reach you. So thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful day. And thank you to all of you for watching, for being here, for spending a little time with me. I really appreciate you. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time. Thank you to my $10 patrons Carolyn Green, Charlotte Dawson, Chris Litzkis, Emily, and Jay Kennedy, my $6 patron Patty Nash, my $5 patrons Miranda Moyer, Laura White, Fenner Lamb, Haley, Tanya DeVagan, Awkwardly Abby, Shannon Spaniel, Romina Reyes, Chai Guy, Giselle Dow, Adam Banzoff, Elizabeth Murray, Krista Laughlin, Erin Meow, Kayla Mann, my $2 patrons Karen, Georgia Thomas, Abigail Poland, Renee Allen, Martha Childress, Adam Boo, Hannah Gugla, Steve A, and Pamela. My $1 patrons Michelle A, Lita Anastasia, Cassandra Lewis, Michelle Mikens, Jenny Sethman, Jessie, Sophia, J.D. Garibay, Isabel Langlois, Elizabeth Vazquez, Kara Freeman, Wanyang Zhang, Elizabeth Mary, Josie, Sophia Clark, Michael Vine, Valhalla Fiasco, Jordan Jepson, Kayla Davenport, Lisa, Nicholas Curtis, Lexi Haynes, Elisa Matiello, Melissa Monstera, Ivy Jawad, Luna Leah, Christine Budora, Megan Montano, Claire Buck, Red, Maria, Shannon, Claire Lynn, and Denise Grimm. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time.